Ever feel like you're stuck? You know, hitting that replay button on the same old habits, trying to level up, but keep getting that error 404, motivation not found message. Yeah, we've all been there. But what if, and stick with me here, what if there was a way to like actually reprogram your thinking, tap into, all that hidden potential and actually become, well, the best version of yourself? Turns out there might be. So we're going to take a deep dive into this thing called neuro-linguistic programming, NLP for short. And no, this isn't about mind control or anything mystical. It's more like a set of practical techniques, real strategies used by successful people. Think athletes, entrepreneurs, even therapists, all sorts. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. NLP is all about the connection between your brain, right, your neurological system, the language you use, and how you behave. It's based on this idea that those three, they're all linked. Change one, it can like influence the others. Kind of a domino effect for your brain, right? And the cool thing is NLP isn't some abstract theory, something cooked up in a lab. It came from studying people who were already, crushing it in their fields. These NLP pioneers, they were all about observing what worked. They're like, hey, these folks are killing it. Let's figure out what they're doing differently. And they turned those strategies into a system, something anyone can learn. Now, one of the big things in NLP is this whole idea about the power of beliefs. I gotta say, this is something I've really struggled with. For years, I had this belief that I was like the worst cook ever. Seriously, every time I stepped in the kitchen, disaster. Burnt cookies, you name it. It was always a mess. And you know what? It was because of that voice in my head, that negative self-talk telling me you're a culinary catastrophe, just order takeout. Wow.
Yeah.
It was like having Gordon Ramsay in my head, yelling, it's raw. Ooh. Except instead of fancy dishes, it was just a sad bowl of cereal. But then I came across this NLP technique called dissociation. It's a way to separate yourself mentally from those bad experiences from the past. So instead of reliving those kitchen nightmares, I started picturing them differently. Like I was watching some cooking show gone wrong, with me as the clueless contestant. And surprisingly, it helped. By like distancing myself from those experiences, they lost their power. It was like I finally kicked Gordon Ramsay out of my mental kitchen. Maybe not replaced him with Julia Child, but someone a little more encouraging, And get this, my cooking actually got better. I even baked cookies without the smoke alarm going off. Small victories, right? But the point is, changing those limiting beliefs, it can really make a difference. Okay, so another powerful NLP technique, this one's for like emotional mastery. It's called anchoring. Have you ever noticed how certain smells or songs, even physical sensations, can like take you back to a specific memory or feeling? Like the smell of freshly cut grass reminds you of being a kid, summers, or a song takes you back to that epic road trip with friends. Well, anchoring is kind of like hacking that natural process. It's about creating an anchor, a touch or gesture that you link to a positive feeling so you can like trigger that emotion whenever you need it. So picture this. You're about to give a big presentation, right? Feeling those pre-show jitters, the drill. But this time, instead of letting those nerves take over, you discreetly, touch your finger to your palm, the anchor you've set for, like feeling calm and confident. And boom, you're back in the zone. It's like having a reset button for your emotions right there at your fingertips. Pretty neat, huh? Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Talk about building rapport with this whole NLP thing. You know that feeling when you just click with someone, like you're totally vibing on the same wavelength, conversation just flows. Well, it turns out there's like a science to that. Now, NLP has some really cool techniques for it. One of them is called matching and mirroring. And no, this doesn't mean like turning into a mime or anything creepy. That's just awkward, not rapport. It's more about subtly matching, mirroring their body language, tone of voice, even how they breathe. It's like if they lean forward, you lean in a little. If they're speaking softly, you lower your voice. It's like you're creating this unconscious sense of harmony, showing them, hey, we're on the same page. And you know what? This technique, it's surprisingly effective. But I got to admit, I once took it a little too far. was having lunch with this new colleague, and I was so focused on mirroring. I started mimicking their nervous habits without even realizing it, twirling their hair, fidgeting with the silverware, the whole bit. They must have thought I was nuts. It was super cringy, let's just say. That lunch break felt like forever. But hey, even though I had that little mishap, the idea itself is solid. When you subtly match someone, you create this connection, and that leads to rapport. And rapport, well, it's the foundation of any good relationship, right? Romantic, professional, even just friendships. Now, remember that whole map of the world thing we talked about before? Well, it's super relevant when it comes to relationships. Think about it. We each have our own map, shaped by our experiences, beliefs. And sometimes those maps clash big time. Like maybe your map says spontaneity is key. Your partner's map says planning and predictability. Total opposites. But here's the thing. NLP gives you tools to understand their map better, see things from their perspective, even if you don't always agree, right? And that understanding, it's a game changer. It lets you empathize, even if their viewpoint seems totally bonkers to you. It's like learning a new language. Suddenly you can communicate better, navigate those tricky relationship things. And speaking of relationships, let's talk love. Because who doesn't want a happy love life, right? Now, NLP isn't some magic potion, to make all your relationship problems disappear. But it does offer some pretty insightful techniques for understanding your partner better, communicating better, building a stronger connection. Like take visualization, for example. This is a really powerful NLP technique, especially in relationships. Imagine you and your partner, you're having one of those, recurring arguments. That same old fight keeps popping up like a bad rerun. Well, instead of replaying those negative interactions in your head, try visualizing a positive outcome. Picture a calm conversation, really listening to each other, finding a solution that works for both of you. I know, it might sound cheesy, but visualization can actually help. It's like you're giving your subconscious a sneak peek of that happy ending you want. And who wouldn't want more happy endings in their love life ruts? All right, switching gears again, let's talk about careers. Because let's face it, most of us spend a huge chunk of our lives working. And whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, starting your own thing, or just trying to survive the day-to-day, NLP can help you reach your goals and feel more fulfilled in your work. One NLP approach I really like is about defining clear outcomes. This goes beyond just setting vague goals like I want to be successful. It's about getting specific, like sensory specific. What does success actually look like, feel like? Can you describe it? Maybe it's seeing your name on a bestseller, hearing the crowd cheer after a presentation, or that feeling of accomplishment when you close a big deal. By defining your outcomes like this in detail, you're giving your brain a clear target. It's like programming your internal GPS, giving it the exact coordinates of where you want to go. And the more specific those coordinates, the easier it is for your brain to, map the route. It's the difference between telling your GPS, take me somewhere nice, versus, putting in the address of that dream vacation spot you've been saving up for. One's just a wish, the other's a destination. Now, we've covered a lot of ground, right? The basics of NLP, the power of beliefs, emotional mastery, building rapport, using NLP in relationships, and setting yourself up for career success. But life isn't always sunshine and rainbows, is it? Sometimes we get hit with those curveballs, those unexpected challenges that throw us off balance. And that's where NLP's problem-solving tools really come in handy. Let's dive into that next. Okay, so we've talked about how NLP can help, level up your life, personal and professional stuff. But sometimes the toughest challenges are those internal battles. Those pesky negative emotions that can hijack your thinking, keep you stuck. Like that feeling when fear just paralyzes you, stops you from going after what you want, or anger makes you say things you regret later, or sadness just drains all your energy and motivation. Those emotional roller coasters, right? Okay. Exhausting. But here's the good news. NLP has some really effective techniques for dealing with those emotions, for gaining control and becoming more emotionally intelligent. One of those powerful things I've learned from NLP is that emotions, they're not the enemy. They're not these, uncontrollable forces that dictate how we behave. Even though it can feel that way sometimes, emotions are actually signals, like messengers trying to tell us something. Like fear might be saying, hey, potential danger here, be careful. Anger could be like, yo, a boundary's been crossed. Time to stand up for yourself.
Mm.
And sadness, what often shows up when we've experienced loss, reminding us to grieve and process those feelings. So instead of trying to just suppress or ignore those emotions, NLP is about listening to them, understanding what they're trying to tell us. And once we get the message, then we can choose how to respond in a more constructive way. It's like saying, okay, fear, I hear you, but I'm not going to let you paralyze me. I'm going to breathe, assess the situation, and take action, even if it's a little scary. This whole idea of emotional control, it really hit home for me when I learned about this NLP technique called the swish pattern. It sounds kind of fancy, but it's basically a way to reprogram those automatic negative reactions we have to certain things. Like, let's say you have to give a presentation at work. Just the thought of it sends you into a spiral of anxiety. You picture yourself forgetting your lines, tripping on stage, total panic attack in front of everyone. Well, the swish pattern helps you replace that negative reaction with a more empowering one. So here's how it works. You identify that trigger image, that mental picture that sets off the negativity. Then you create a replacement image, a picture of yourself feeling calm, confident, totally rocking that presentation. And then you do this rapid swish, mentally swapping the trigger image for the replacement image over and over. It's like training your brain to associate that presentation with feelings of confidence and success. And the more you practice this swish, the more your brain starts to rewire those automatic reactions. Pretty cool, huh? Another NLP technique I find super helpful for stress and overwhelm is called chunking. It's about breaking down big, overwhelming tasks or problems into smaller, more manageable pieces. Like, let's say you're feeling totally swamped by a huge project at work, a million things to do, deadlines, you're just drowning in tasks. Well, instead of freaking out, try chunking it down. Choose one small task, focus on just that one thing, and then celebrate that small win. And you know what? It's amazing how much lighter, how much more manageable everything feels when you take it one chunk at a time. It's like that saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Chunking is like the mental version of those manageable bites. Helps you stay focused, build momentum, and avoid getting overwhelmed by the big picture.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about reframing, the swish pattern, chunking, and a whole bunch of other NLP techniques, for managing emotions, navigating those tough life challenges. But here's the thing. The real power of NLP is in taking action, actually using these techniques in your own life.
It's like having a toolbox full of amazing tools, but they're useless if you just leave them sitting in the garage, right? So here's my challenge to you. Choose one technique that speaks to you, something you're curious about, and try it out this week. Maybe it's the swish pattern to overcome a fear, anchoring yourself to a feeling of calm confidence, or just chunking down a big goal. And you know what? Don't worry about getting it perfect. Just start somewhere. Be consistent and trust that the more you practice, the more natural and effective these techniques will become. Remember, NLP is your journey, not a destination. It's about constantly learning, growing, evolving, becoming the best version of yourself. One thought, one word, one action at a time. So keep exploring, keep experimenting, and who knows, you might just unlock a whole new level of potential within yourself. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into NLP. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those hearts open.